Okay, welcome to Yoma Ayin Zayin, Yoma 77. Joined again by my esteemed guest, my brother-in-law Yehuda Price. If anyone had an answer to his share, I see that no one listened to the share. So when you do listen to the share, make sure to leave a comment to answer his question. He might have some more questions tonight, but I'm prepared. I got the answers. All right. Start from here at the bottom. It says Ayin Rav Beis. Ani five lines up. Ani bati b'dvarecha. This is a pasuk talking about Gavriel when he was punished. Hain lichsiv v'shivim ish miziknei beis Yisrael v'yozinahu bein shafan omed b'socham omdim lifneihem v'ish mekadraso b'yodo v'asar an haktoras ola. Pasuk's talking about a pasuk in Yechezkel. Yechezkel had an image. Yechezkel, I believe, was living in Bavel. He saw an image of the people in Eretz Yisrael doing Avodah Zarah in the base of Mikdash. Someone took him by the threads of his hair. They carried him between the sky and the ground. They brought him to the gates of the base of Mikdash, where there were images of idols. It says he saw an image, he saw a picture of 25 people. They were standing between the Mizbeach, HaChitzon, and the entrance to the Ulam. And they were standing facing the Mizbeach with their backs towards the Heichal, towards the Ulam. So the Gemara says, in fact, I know they were facing eastward. Of course, I know that their backs were facing the Heichal. What is that coming to teach us? They were exposing themselves from the back and they were defecating, as maybe a form of Avodah Zarah, or to be Zion to the base of Mikdash. He said to Michal, your nation has done bad. At least the good ones should be saved. He says, I'm punishing all of them, even the good ones. Miyad v'yomer el ish lavush habadim v'yomer bo el binos la gilgal el tachas la kruv u'malei chafnecha agach le'ish mebinos la kruvim v'zrok al ir v'yavo le'enai. So he gave instructions, Hashem gave instructions to lavush habadim. Rashi says reference to Gavriel. He said you should go between these angels, Gilgal and Kruv, and fill up your hands with burning coals, and throw them on the city, throw them on Yerushalayim. Instead of Gavriel taking it, the Kruv, one of these malachim, he took the coals and he put it into Gavriel's hands. He took from between among the Kruvim where these coals were. He put it into the palms of the Shabbat, which was Gavriel, and he went out. Amar of Chanabar Bizna, Amar of Shimon Chasida, El Malilo and Stanu Guchalim Yodo shall Kruv, Liodo shall Gavriel, and Shtairum Sanin shall Yisrael Starid Upalit. Because instead of Gavriel taking it, the Kruv took it and put it into the hands of Gavriel, so it cooled off the coals a little bit. So therefore, this was a metaphor for the punishment that was going to happen to the destruction of the Beis HaMikdash. So it was a little cooled off because it went from one hand to another, so therefore it wasn't as harsh a punishment, and Klal Yisrael wasn't completely destroyed. Gabriel said back to Hashem after he did this, after he did this symbolic act of throwing these coals on the city of Yerushalayim, he said to Hashem, I did what you commanded me. They took Gabriel from behind the pargod, they hit him with 60 rods of fire. If you didn't do what Hashem commanded you to do, that wouldn't have been so bad. If you did it, at least do what they told you to do. You were supposed to take the coals and not the kruf. The fact that you did it, you responded to Hashem. I did what you said to do. I'm meaning something bad. We know there's a klal that you don't report that you did something bad to somebody. They took Duviel, who was the head angel, the archangel of the Persians, and they put it in Gavriel's place. He served for 21 days. He was serving for 21 days. Michal came to help me. He stood there silently next to the kings of Pras. They gave this Duviel, they gave him 21 kingdoms under his control. Parvasa de Mashig, in the port of Mashig. Amar Ksivu Lili Yisrael Ba'akarga. So Duviel, when he was in charge, he said, right, that Bnei Yisrael should have to give taxes, a head tax, to the government, the Persian government, Kasvule. They wrote it for him. Kasvule Rabbanan Ba'akarga. Right, from even the rabbis have to give the head tax. Kasvule, they wrote it for him. And the Bol and Michtam, when he wanted to sign on the fate of having to give the head tax, whatever head tax means exactly. Amar Gavriel Machore Pargod. Gavriel stood up from behind the Pargod. He was banished from behind the Pargod. Amar Shav Lachem Meshkim Yikum Machore Sheves Ochli Lechem Atzavim Kain Yitain Lidos Shena. My Kain Yitain Lidos Shena. Amar of Yitzchak Elu Nashosein Shal Tamid Chavim. These are the wise Tamid Chavim Shemenadot Shena Be'olam Hazeh V'Zochos Olam Haba. The word in the pasuk where it says "King Yitain Lido Shena," Yedido is menadidos. They move their head from side to side so it's not to fall asleep. So they could be home when their husbands come late from the base of Medrash learning. Whether it's a good thing or not for husbands to come home at 3 o'clock in the morning from the base of Medrash or not, I'm not going to get into. Yehuda, what time should a husband come back from the base of Medrash? At night. You see from this Gemara that the women were falling asleep, so I guess it means at least 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock. I don't know if it's the best thing in the world, but Metzias was they did this, and the woman stayed up for them, so they gave schar to the woman. He told this taina of Klal Yisrael, this schus of Klal Yisrael, limud schus, their wives, the wives of Milcham, even stay up for them. And they didn't listen to him. He said, if all the chachamim of the nations, of the other nations besides Klal Yisrael, were on one side of a balance, and Daniel was on the other side of the balance, he would weigh them more. His chuyas would weigh more. Who is this person that's melamed chus on my children? They said it's Gavriel. Yavo. He said, come in. So Hashem put him back. He took him out from the Kachei HaKachim. And now he brought him back. That's the meaning of the pasuk we said before. Ani Basi, Gavriel came in because he spoke favorably about Daniel. Amar Lahu Leil. They said, bring him in. Ailu. Asa Ashkachel Deviel, the Nakale de Grise Biyade. Deviel was holding this letter that he wanted to impose the head tax on the rabbis in his hands. Bola Mirma, he wanted to cause him to throw it away. Bola, he swallowed it. Duviel swallowed this letter. It was written, but it wasn't signed that it should go into effect. Alternatively, a different explanation is that it was signed, but he erased part of it. There's some that give, some rabbis give a head tax, and some don't give a head tax. The conclusion of the story is that Gabriel was leaving, and the archangel of Greece was coming in, and he cried out loud because he saw that Greece would impose harsh galus on Klal Yisrael. No one paid attention to Gabriel. That's the conclusion of the story. Now we're going to go back to our Mishnah. We were talking about Achila and Shtia and Sicha, they're called Inoi. What about Rechitza? Where do you know that not washing yourself on Yom Kippur is called an Inoi? Minalan. Mahacha dechsiv, Olav Yasar HaKohen Esher Melech HaNosos Leich Al Sadecha Ki Ish Mavis Ato, Over Yom Hazeh Lo Amischa. I think Shlomo says to have Yosar a Kohen, he says, you deserve to die. Today I'm not going to kill you. Sas says, Aaron Hashem with me David Avi, because you carry the Aaron in front of David my father. You were afflicted with whatever he was afflicted. Avi. David, what was he afflicted with? Rav, what does Rav? Rav mean? Rav means milechem. They didn't eat. The Same, and they were thirsty. Mimayim, they didn't drink. Ayif, mimay. What does that mean? They were tired from what? Lav merachitza, they didn't wash themselves. Then it says, sandal. Maybe it just means they were tired because they didn't have shoes to wear. Cold water on a tired soul. Maybe the pasuk is talking about ayefa. They were tired because they didn't drink. Miksiv ben nefesh ayefa. In a soul of a tired person, al nefesh ayefa, on the exterior of the person. So it's talking about the rechitza, which goes on the exterior of a tired person. So that's the Gemara's maskana, where we know rechitza from. Ilas hasandal we know it. How do you know ilas hasandal is considered to be tichsiv David ole v'male azesim ole oboche v'rosh lo chafoy v'holich yachev mimai. He was going barefoot. This is talking about David. And it was said that it was an inoy for him. Lav menilas hasandal wasn't the fact he wasn't wearing shoes. Maybe it was the fact he was missing a horse and a whip to whip the horse and to go on. That's what he was yachaf. He had shoes though. This is a pasuk by Yeshaya. It said that Yeshaya should do certain things. It should go yachaf. Yachaf in my lab doesn't mean he shouldn't wear shoes. Maybe it means he was wearing shoes. They just had patches on them. Arum means that he literally was naked. He was wearing clothes. They were just worn out. We're talking about shoes that were patched up. Mini raglich miyachev v'groncha mitzamla. There's nevuah that Yirmiyah gave to Klal Yisrael. The Gemara explains, many aspects you should prevent yourself from doing sins, so that your feet shouldn't come to go barefoot. Don't say dvarim b'teilim, words that don't mean anything, in order that your throat shouldn't be filled with thirst. So that's the Gemara's maskana for Nilas Asandal. Tashmish Shamita, the Ikri Inum. And where do you know that Tash Shamita, if you don't go without that, it's called an Inoy? It's an affliction. Lavan said to Yaakov, when he bid him farewell, he said, you shouldn't be ma'ana, you shouldn't afflict my daughters, and you shouldn't take other wives. So what is imtana esbenos? Imtana mi tashmish. You shouldn't ma'ana them, meaning you should do tash shamita with them. You shouldn't deprive them of tash shamita. Ve'im tikach mitzaros. Im tikach means you shouldn't take other wives. Ve'ema idi mitzaros. Maybe imtana is also taking mitzaros. It's one phrase. Miksiv im tikach ve'im tikach. With a vav, it's two different things. Ve'ema idi mitzaros. Maybe it's talking about, both of them are talking about tsaros, taking other wives. The first part of the pasuk is talking about taking tsaros, meaning making Bilhah and Zilpah, meaning making them actual wives. And then the second, lo tikach, is talking about taking other tsaros. Dumya di imtikach, because imtana should be similar to imtikach. Miksiv imtikach imtana. Imtana v'imtikach. The pasuk should go in the order of least affliction to most affliction. So it says imtana v'imtikach. So imtana, raising Bilhah and Zilpah to full-fledged wives, is less of an inoy than taking other wives. So it's written in the wrong way. It must be inoy is referring to tashmish amita. Amli Rav Papa labai ha tashmish gufa ikri inoy. Whereas he says that tashmish itself, doing tashmish is called an inoy. By Shechem, when he was with Dinah, it says he was shochiv her and he was ma'ana her, and he was together with her. So you see that tash shamita is called the unit itself. The pshat is that he had relations with her, but in the future, after that, he didn't have more relations with her, and she would want that. Now, the question over here is, I always learn that Vayishko Zayaneh, I think Rashi al Torah says, Bia Shalom Kedarka. I don't know why Vayishko says Bia Kedarka, Vayaneh is Bia Shalom Kedarka, which I guess is painful to the woman. Why doesn't the Gemara say that over here? You have any ideas, Yehuda? He doesn't know. All right. No. Let's go on. Tanaraban Asar Lirchos Mixas Gufo Kechol Gufo. The Gemara is going to explain the parameters of the Isser Rachis on Yom Kippur. Asar Lirchos Mixas Gufo Kechol Gufo. You can't even wash a little part of your body. Let's say it was dirty with mud or soa, rohitz kedarko. Then you could wash you off. Eino choshish. You don't have to worry. Asar lasach mixas gufo. You can't anoint even a small part of your body called gufo. If he was sick or he had scabs on his head, sach kedarko eino choshish. Then he's allowed to do it because these things. The whole point is, Mefarshim explained, is that it has to be something. You can't do something l'shem tainuk, but just to clean yourself off. That's not l'shem tainuk. That's not a problem. Tana dve menashe. Shulgalil omer madicha isha yad achas v'mayim nosenes pas l'tino. Ve'eno choshesh. The morning when she wakes up, she can wash one of her hands off and give bread to her child. Amru lav al shamay zaken sharatza lahachal biyado achas. He didn't want to even wash one hand. The gazru lav lahachal b'shei yadayim. They made him wash two hands to give it. My time. Why you have to wash your hands before you give bread to the child? Amar Abaye mishum shifsa. Because there's a shade called shifsa, which is a ruach ra on the yadayim before they're washed in the morning, otherwise known as nagel vaser. Someone is going to greet his father or his rebbe or someone greater than him over ad savar b'mayim ve'eno choshesh. He can pass through a stream of water, a lake or a stream of water, and he doesn't have to worry that he's violating rachitza. What about a rabbi to go to his Talmud? Tashmad Amrav Yitzchak bar Barchana Ana Chazise LeZiri. I saw Ziri the Azal Lagabi Rav Chia bar Ashi Talmide. Ziri went to his Talmud through the water. Rashi Amar Ahu Rav Chia bar Ashi who the Azal Lagabi the Ziri Rabbi. No, he said it was the opposite. The Talmud went to the Rebbe, so we have no proof from that. Rav Ashara Libnei Ever Yamina Lim Ever B'Maya Lenture Pira. He allowed the people of his city, Ever Yamina, to go through water in order to watch their fruits on the other side of the river.
When Yom Kippur?
On Yom Kippur, he allowed them. Yeah.
Why?
Why do you allow them?
Yeah.
Because the answer is not. It was the shame for the Shmiras HaPeros and not for Tainug. If you have no reason to cross a river, so then some of the reason you're doing it is the shame Tainug. But if you're doing it for a reason to save your money, to watch them from Ganavim, so then it's not the shame Tainug.
One, did they not have any people to watch? Did they not have different people to watch for them, so they need to go on Yom Kippur to do it?
Apparently they didn't have people to watch, yeah. They forgot or something, I don't know.
Okay.
Did you have a problem with this when you were learning it?
Huh?
When you learned this Gemara, you had a problem with it?
Yeah, no, I asked. It could be when I learned I also had that question, I don't remember.
Alright, he brings a brayso which supports them. Shomrei peros ovnat savarno mayim ein chosh. People are watching their fruits can go even up until their necks and they don't have to worry. Rav Yosef shar l'bnei beit tarbu l'me'ever b'mayil l'meisa the pirka. He would allow people in Bnei Tarbu to cross over water to go to a shir on Yom Kippur. Now, it's interesting they had a shir on Yom Kippur. Nowadays, you have 15 minutes between Musaf and Mincha. There's no more shiurim on Yom Kippur, right?
They daven nets.
They daven nets. They daven nets. Okay. So you see a riot from here, you daven nets. I personally go to a minion that davens nets, and they are done by 10 o'clock. The davening start about 6 o'clock till 10 o'clock on Yom Kippur, and I have about a 6-hour nap. No, I don't take a nap for 6 hours, but a 6-hour break. This is not the prevalent minhag in Klal Yisrael now. I think the prevalent minhag is to have between a 15 to a 17-minute break. Listen, I don't know. I have a lot to say about the matter, but the Gemara in Tanya says in Yom Kippur they used to go and pick shidduchim. They used to make shidduch on Yom Kippur. It says Tu B'Av in Yom Kippur. So I don't know when the time to make shidduchim was. Maybe when the chazan was going, yeah, how you doing?
Well, it says. Well, it said that they used to go out and the banot and
In the fields, and they
the
used
fields,
to,
yeah.
and the Bachrim used to pick the girls on Yom Kippur. So when was it?
It wasn't. It was also two Babanus Yom Kippur.
Yeah, it says Tu B'Av Yom Kippur. It's in Tainis. Give me a rendition of what the ayayay of the chazan. Who is going to tell you when they went to pick the when the chazan goes? Do the ayayay.
No, there was
The chazan
they did it before, after Musaf. They have a long time.
After
Also in the
Musaf, it's
regular
only
shul.
17 minutes.
No, also in the regular shul, they have more than 50 minutes. Also if the daven regular.
What I heard, there's this shul. I heard this crazy place in Telstone. They have this shul where the women actually come from the Ezras Nashim. They come into the regular shul where the men are during Chazarat HaShas. Because people are falling asleep anyway. You know, people are very tired and they had enough. They make shidduchim. They sit at the tables. They sit at the stenders. The voices next to the girl on the stender, and they have a conversation. They have a date. You know, unfortunately, they can't bring them Pepsi and water, but you know, you have to do without the Pepsi and the water. Most people don't drink their Pepsi and water anyway on the date. So this is a minhag that's been going on in Telestone for about 5 years now. I think it's about time the other communities should follow suit. All right. So the Gemara says he allowed Bnei Tarba to go hear the shir. He didn't allow them to come back. If you don't allow them to come back, the next year they're not going to come hear the shir. An alternative explanation is that he allowed them to go, but he allowed them to come back. To go, it makes sense. That's for Tainig. Why are they going back? They answered him in order that next year they should be able to come to the shir. Rav Yehuda Rav Shmuel Bar Rav Yehuda Avukaimi Aguda the Nar Papa Amavra de Chatzada. They were in this near the Nar of Papa, I guess, or Papa was named after a Nar, maybe. On the Mavra de Chatzad, on this port over there. Kai Rami Bar Papa Mahak Gizla. He was another Rebbe. Rami Bar Papa was sailing on the other side of the river. Can I cross over the river in order to ask you a question in the Gemara?
Why you couldn't ask from there?
What?
It was too far.
That's a good question. Listen, I'll tell you, because on Yom Kippur you have to save your strength. So to have a whole discussion, you know, the back and forth in Gemara could take, people talking, learning for like hours, So it could be raise your voice. In Yom Kippur, people don't have too much of a voice.
Yeah, maybe only the question, like, to speak a couple minutes, it's okay. But if you want, it's hard to a big question to scream it. It's hard.
Yeah, a big question. You got a long answer also.
Yeah.
So you said you're allowed to cross as long as you don't take your hand and put it from underneath the hem of your beged. Now apparently they were wearing frocks, and if you would it was a long coat. If you wear the frock and he put his hand underneath the frock, he would put it on his shoulder, and it'd be a carrying. Chaluko, it's actually a brisa, what we just said. Maskil Rav Yosef, now we just said before, you're allowed to go until Tzavaro, until your neck, you're allowed to pass over through the water. During the week, you're allowed to do this. Sakana Tefashos, Mishar, Vachsi, Vayimad, Elef, Ba'ama, Vavirena, B'mayim, Me'afasim. They were talking about this stream that came out of the Kodesh HaKadoshim, Yechezkel, so on, and Nevuah. So the first Elef Amma that came out, it went up to your ankles, and you were allowed to go through it. Mikan shemutar la'ava arafasayim, you could pass through it until your ankles. V'yamad elef vayavirena b'mayim, mayim birkayim. Mikan shemutar la'ava ad birkayim. When again the second 1,000 amos went up to the knees, you can pass through with when it goes up to your knees. V'yimad elef vayavirena meimas nayim. The third 1,000 amos went up to the waist. Mikan shemutar la'ava ad masnayim. Mikan ve'elech v'yimad elef nachal asher leuchal la'avor. From there on, past the waist, if the stream went up past the waist, you're not allowed to go through. It's a sakana. Amar Abaye, shani nachal deradifi maya. There it was a moving stream of water, so the water might take you and throw you in a different direction, throw you underneath the water. So therefore, it's more dangerous. But a regular lake where there's nothing moving, then you can go up to your neck. You might think you could actually swim. You can't walk through it, but you could swim there. Talmud Omer kigala mayim meishachu. My meishachu. Shiyuta. Meishach was swimming. Shekein korin l'shaita saicha. They call swimming sayacha. Yachal yarena bebornik tana. Maybe you can pass through this stream with a small boat. Talmud Omer bal teilech bo anishit. Yachal yarena bebornik dola. Maybe a big ship. Talmud Omer siyadir lo yarena. My mashma. What's the mashmos from this psukim? You shouldn't go in a small fisherman's ship. You shouldn't go through it with a big ship. Amar Rabbi Yehuda ben Pazi, even the Malach Hamavis has no permission to go through this moving stream of water from the base of Midrash. It talks about the Malach Hamavis, says the word shoot is similar to sheet. To tell you that even the Malach Hamavis has no reshus to pass through this water. Well, with that, we'll conclude today's shir on Daf Yoma and Zion. We thank you everyone for listening. Thank you, Huda, for joining me, and we'll see you tomorrow. Subscribe, like, Ben Seal Lang. We need your support.